Alright, so good morning, drawing and painting 2. You guys are getting ready to finish up doing the spheres. And the next thing I want you to try is drawing one piece of fruit. In this case, I would prefer that every table have one apple. It could be a fake apple, that's okay. And I want you to try an apple because we're going to talk about color choices in this video, and then I'll do a demonstration on the apple in the next video. Remember that you have all of your tools. We talked about this. Remember your choices. You have the watercolor color pencils, in which case for the apple we are going to try in the background, so you will be experimenting with these. We have the very thins that have the hexagon shape that you will be using for like the stem and the leaf and any little details. And then we have our regular color pencils in which you will be using your pack, but then you also have access to all of those others. You want to make sure you have your erasers. I'm going to show you how to use the curved blade. Make sure you have your sharpening tools, and make sure that you have your colorless blender and you have your white from your pack so that you can burnish the highlights. And as always, your indigo is going to be your best friend in this project. So here's the way that I think about choosing colors. Because color pencils can end up looking extremely juvenile, usually the reason why is we tend not to have a really great color palette. And so here is my method on choosing colors whenever I'm starting a project with colored pencil. In this case, I'm going to show you how to do the apple and how to do the table with the apple on it. And then you guys are going to try the final, and we'll talk about that in a second. So, you guys are all going to be doing a red apple, so your base color in this case is going to be red. Now you can use in your packet, you have lots of colors. All of these colors on here come directly from your packet. So everyone has access to the colors that I chose for this, but you can also go to that huge packet of colored pencils that we have for a variety of colors as well. Again, you just want to make sure that you're writing down the numbers and the names to the pencils and making sure that you're putting them back because other students from other classes might be using them as well. So we have your base color. So your base color of your apple is red. In order to get a darker red, you're always going to end up using the complement of the red. So you want to make sure that if you have, let's say an orange red, remember every color has a warm and a cool side to it. If you have an orange red, you want to make sure that you have a blue green. If you have a more yellow or blue based red, you want to make sure that you have a warmer like yellow green. So in this case, I'm just using the crimson red and the darker green, the grass green in here to get my complement. And then I'm also always referring to that indigo blue. And I'll show you exactly the reason why for this. Between these three colors, the complements of any 2 plus indigo, you are going to be able to get something very close to black. Along with this though, I tend, because you don't want it to look juvenile, I tend to also use the colors that sit next to the base colors. So in this case, we will be doing analogous colors. I usually choose 2 from one side. So in this case with the apple, it makes sense to do 2 warmer colors such as orange and yellow. And then I also add just a tiny, tiny touch of purple here and there. The reason why. Purple and yellow are complements, so we are stretching this analogous color scheme. So a tiny, tiny pop of purple is going to make the whole thing feel super colorful and alive. You do not want to use a lot of purple, just a little bit here and there. I want you to do something like this. I'm going to create a template for you. The substitute should be giving you some kind of template. And then for each project that you do with colored pencil, you should really be doing this. You should also be doing some kind of test color scale strip. So I did the base color, the green, and the blue in the middle to see how dark I can go. I went over here with my purples, and I went this way with my yellows and my oranges to see where it's going to go. And then what I did was lift some with the eraser, burnish it with the white to see how I was going to get my highlights. All right. So this works great for a red object such as an apple. But if you were to do the same thing with, let's say, like a banana, and your base color was yellow, try it, because once you start mixing yellow and blue, what do you get? You get green. So on objects that are yellow and orange, you want to use that indigo a little bit less than you would with objects that are like red, purple, and green, and you want to pair that indigo with something like a little bit more neutral of like a brown or something like that. But indigo is important to have around everything. So this would be for my apple. All of these colors again are found. I have the yellow, the orange. I actually did use the violet from the pack in here, the indigo and the dark green and the red for this. Now that's for my apple. For my table, the table, it tends to be brown or neutral, and I want you to try to experiment with wood grain. Everyone's going to get a different texture. That's okay. You're going to refer to those color pencil techniques to think about what kind of textures you can create for that wood grain. The base of the table, there's two different browns in your packet. The base, I chose to do the warmer brown. So if you look at these two browns, you can see that one seems a little bit more red and one seems a little bit more blue. So my base color, I'm choosing the redder brown, or you could kind of consider it the lighter looking brown out of the two. For my complement, because this is so red, the complement of this would then end up being the cooler, because this is warmer, the complement would end up being that cooler brown. So I could use this in things like the shadow and the darker areas of the textures. And then from there, I want to think about how am I going to incorporate more color. When in doubt, choose colors already used. This ties the grounds together. So we're already using orange and yellow in the apple, and then you'll see in the background how we're going to use one of these colors as well. So I went ahead and I chose to put orange and yellow in my table in order to create that continuity between the apple and the table where everything is kind of reflective. This is my methodology for choosing your colors for anything that you're doing with colored pencils. So go ahead and think about what you want to do. You're more than welcome to use colors outside of your pack. We have different greens, things like that, but again, you're going to want to write those down and make sure that you're keeping track of those, especially for the final projects, because we might have to get another one if they're available and things like that from the store. All right, next video will be the demo.